So, welcome to the social media update coming to you this September. We've got lots to cover as usual in our monthly update. But first, let me introduce myself. My name is Alison, and I'm the consultant and founder at Avocado Social. We work with a wide range of businesses providing social media consultancy, training, and strategy. So, if that's something you're interested in for your business, then please do let us know. You can also scan the QR code here on your screen, which will open up all of our upcoming courses. So we run a monthly workshop on topics from TikTok to LinkedIn. We've just announced a brand new AI workshop, which I'll be telling you a bit more about later. So you can join those workshops from wherever you are in the world, and you'll learn the very latest social media knowledge at those workshops too. So what are we covering in today's social media update then? Well, I'll whiz through the updates and then we'll get straight into it. So we've got a really good mix of LinkedIn, Instagram, X, TikTok, Reddit, and even Facebook today as well. LinkedIn has added some new analytics. We're going to look at some of the updates to do with video on LinkedIn. Are Instagram links coming? Who knows? We'll discuss that in just a moment. Instagram is moving story highlights. You can also now pin your own comment on Instagram. Rearrange an Instagram carousel could be happening soon. We'll talk about the rise in TikTok search and search ads and what they mean for you. X has shared some insights around its algorithm, which is very useful to know for other platforms too. And Reddit becomes a key consideration for marketers. And then finally, we'll end with a little bit of an update on Facebook. Plus, I've got some latest social media trends to let you know about as well. So let's get straight into it then, and we'll open the floor to Q&A at the end of the session. So if you do have a question for me today, you're most welcome to ask, and we'll have 10 minutes or so of Q&A right at the end too. So our first update today is that LinkedIn has begun rolling out some new engagement metrics, saves and sends. So these are rolling out at the moment to help creators to better understand content performance and values. Following suit with other platforms like Instagram, it's no longer about your likes, your followers, your comments, but we're starting to see valuable engagement happening in private formats, such as people saving your posts or people sharing your posts with others in DMs. And LinkedIn has recognized this. Of course, not all valuable engagement is public, and we have seen a real shift towards dark social over the last couple of years. So what does this mean for you? You should be creating content that is so valuable that people want to save it for later, or it's so conversation worthy that people can't help but share it with others. I've definitely noticed my behavior on LinkedIn changing, and I'm certainly sharing more with others via DM, something I never really used to do on LinkedIn before, but it's so easy now. So of course, LinkedIn wants to show us how many people are doing that by introducing these two new engagement metrics, saves and sends. So this will be rolling out to both personal profiles and company profiles over the next few months, and it will become available to all users in all regions. So keep an eye out for those new metrics coming soon on LinkedIn. The next trend that we wanted to talk about today was the fact that CapCut has recently added a new LinkedIn integration. So if you use CapCut as your app for editing video content, it's a very popular app to use, you might notice that you can now create a video in CapCut and export that directly to LinkedIn, making it easier to create video content on the platform. The Senior Director of Product at LinkedIn, Laxman Somasundaran, shared that now after you create and edit a video in CapCut, you can share it to LinkedIn in 2 taps. No more exporting hassle and extra steps to go through. And just like when you post a video directly on LinkedIn, content you share from CapCut that's related to our video trends will automatically become eligible to surface in those trends. So you can see on the right-hand side there in his video, there is a little label that's appearing that says made with CapCut. Now, it does sound like this is another move from LinkedIn to really push video content on the platform. They want to make video content creation easier and faster for people. And interestingly, this week, I'm about to share with you some more video updates that the Senior Director of Product also shared. But first of all, you might be thinking one of the big rumors that goes around in social media is the fact that if you create a video using a third-party app like CapCut, does that mean that when you publish that to LinkedIn or to any other social media site, it impacts your distribution? And he actually responded to a query here and he said, no, it will not directly impact your distribution if you use CapCut for your editing. So he did say that LinkedIn focuses on matching the right content to the right professionals, regardless of where it's posted from. So interesting to see that LinkedIn is coming out early and saying it doesn't matter where you create your video, but once you publish it to the platform, the algorithm takes over and serves it to the people who are most relevant to see it. So one of the other things that he actually shared this week was that LinkedIn is seeing that video is actually one of the fastest growing formats for creation, particularly in the US. Let's see what he had to say.
Hey, what's up, folks? So earlier this summer, I shared how we're testing new experiences for video on LinkedIn, starting with trends in the video tab in the US. Today, I've got some fun findings from that testing to help videos that you or your clients make stand out. So first, let's start big picture. Video is one of LinkedIn's fastest growing formats for creation. In fact, it's growing at 1.6x the rate of all other formats combined. And when people create with video, they see 3x growth in followers. So, when growth like that happens, that means two big things. First, there's a lot more content for us to match to the right members. And second, creators want to know, how do I stand out? So we got new insights on both of those, which I'm excited to share with you guys today. On that first one, on matching members to the right content, earlier this summer, we limited the availability of the video tab and select video features to the US so that we could iterate quickly. That's been paying off. So members are now watching 40% more videos in the tab than they did a year ago. And they're spending 2.2x more time watching videos while they're there. So now we're taking all those learnings to level up the video experience for our members globally. On that second topic of helping creators stand out, we actually went in recently and we studied the videos that are getting the most traction over the last couple of months. And we found that there's three things those videos are doing that the average video on LinkedIn is not. Number one, they start with a short on-screen text hook, just a little piece of text that captures attention immediately. Second, they include built-in captions. So not all members watching videos have sound turned on here, so having captions that are visually appealing goes a long way. And third, they use visual elements to vary things up. So everything from scene changes to B-roll to graphics, just these small touches that keep people watching and they're easy to do in your favorite editing app. Overall, anytime we make improvements in surfacing videos to members, I know it can create fluctuations in the performance that individual creators might see. So some of you might be seeing a lot more views recently, while some of you might be seeing less. That's why we're sharing these new insights to help folks keep leveling up with video here. Our most successful creators are the ones who keep experimenting. They adopt a whole array of formats, and when they make content in the video format, they go for those on-screen text hooks, they go for those burnt-in captions, they go for those visual elements, all things that help them create a potential hit. So keep creating, and I'm excited to see what you make.
Interesting, and we've got the CapCut logo at the end there because of course that video was edited using CapCut. So it looks like that video tab, that dedicated video tab in LinkedIn, which is only available in the US at the moment, has really helped to aid video views over in the States. Is it going to be rolling out in other countries soon? He said, not at the moment, but stay tuned. Lots underway to take our recent learnings and make sure that everyone can benefit from them. So stay tuned to see more about video and its growth on LinkedIn. But my prediction is that in 2026, video will make a big mark on LinkedIn. So if you can start experimenting and having a go with things that work now, getting used to editing videos, using some of the editing tools like CapCut or Veed, and just seeing what works best with your audience, then you'll be in good stead for next year in terms of growth of the video format on the platform. So a big rumor has been going around recently about Instagram. Mobile developer Alex193A shared this screen grab, which indicates that Instagram is working on the ability to add a link to a grid post. This is something that, of course, Instagram has never been able to allow before, or they've not wanted to allow it before, even though it probably is one of the most requested features. Could this be true? Well, there's no confirmation as yet from Instagram. They haven't commented on it publicly. But if we go back through the archives, this article, which was published way back in October 2023, so just 2 years ago, but it feels like so long ago, they said that this wouldn't happen. The article was called, "Sorry, you're never going to get a clickable link on an Instagram grid post," and it was written by Christina Silva. In the article, she quotes Adam Mosseri, the head of Instagram, who says it's unlikely they'd ever introduce this capability. He said, "You can't post links in feed because it'll make Instagram about news." So that's something he's previously said about other platforms too. This was something he was very clear about with Threads. They never really wanted that to become a news platform, although it is somewhere where people do tend to post a little bit about news. So it looks like that's the main reason they don't want to allow links into grid posts. Would you want to see links in posts on Instagram? We actually ran a poll on our Instagram stories this week to see whether you'd be interested in seeing links on posts. And 71% of you said that you would like to see links on Instagram posts. It would certainly make things a little bit easier, wouldn't it, than having to drive people towards the link in bio or use a tool like ManyChat, where people are DM'd a link once they comment a certain word on your post. But 29% of you said you absolutely would not like to see links on posts. So let's see, let's keep our ears to the ground. And of course, as always, we'll keep you posted. Now, something that definitely is happening is that Instagram is going to start moving our story highlights to their own dedicated tab. This is something that was hinted by Instagram earlier this year when Instagram first launched the taller grid layout. Do you remember when that happened back in January? Feels like ages ago now. But fewer people are using Instagram story highlights as a way to kind of catch up on a business or an individual. And frankly, all of the social media managers I know will be quite relieved if stories became less of a feature on your main grid, because they are quite difficult to stay on top of. It is that extra bit of admin, isn't it, just to remove stories that are no longer relevant. The Instagram user Kim Loves Ollie shared that her highlights have actually moved already. So this is starting to happen on a few people's profiles. I wonder if anyone here has seen it. Let us know in the chat. And you'll see they have been moved to their own dedicated tab, which is the second one along on your feed just before Reels. So to me, that feels quite natural to move those off the main grid and to make it much more about your bio and then your grid straight away when somebody lands on your profile. So watch out for that change happening soon. Another new feature coming to Instagram is the feature to be able to pin a comment, pin one of your own comments. Now, as you'll see in this video from Instagram CEO Adam Mosseri, this was actually a suggestion that came from a user.
Small thing. A couple weeks ago in my AMA, somebody asked me, why can't you pin your own comment? And we thought about it, and you should. You should be able to pin your own comment, because the whole point of pinned comments is that you should be able to shape that comment thread into what you want, because it is your post in the first place. So we fixed it, and now you can pin your own comments. Thanks for the idea. More to come. Peace.
Nice. So a great bit of branding from Instagram as well, showing that if you do actually recommend a feature to Adam Mosseri on his Friday Ask Me Anythings, they might actually listen to you and then integrate that feature instantly. So we don't know whether that was actually in their plans anyway, but a great response there for him to be able to film and give to a user. So look out for that ability to pin your own comment. That could be really useful for things like if you've run a competition and now the competition's closed, you could pin a comment saying competition now closed, this was the winner. Or perhaps you could pin a comment asking people to, head to a certain area of your bio to get the link for something, or maybe even just to give an update on a post that you've done recently, just to anybody else who's continuing to comment on that post. You might just want to give them a little bit of an update in an emerging story or something that has changed. What else is coming from Instagram? Let's find out. So another feature suggestion that came from a user in the AMA is the ability to rearrange a carousel once it's been posted. Let's see what Adam said.
You can actually delete a post inside of a carousel after you've shared the carousel, but you cannot rearrange yet. That's a good thing. I'm not sure when we'll get to it, but I will register it as a YouTube.
So I think that makes sense. I actually had this situation on LinkedIn this week where I wanted to rearrange a carousel or even remove pictures from a carousel once I had already posted it. And on LinkedIn, you can't alter what's in your carousel after you've posted it, and same on Instagram. So the ability to then kind of go back in and rearrange some of the slides. Maybe you've worked out that certain slides are working better than others in your carousel, so you want to actually show them in a different order. Or maybe you just made a mistake when you're posting it and did it in a wrong order. I think that ability would be really helpful to social media managers. So hopefully we'll see something like that coming very soon. So a new report has just come out from a company called WARC in partnership with TikTok, and they've been looking at the rise of search on the platform. TikTok is absolutely now a search platform. 86% of Gen Z internet users search on TikTok weekly, nearly matching traditional search engine usage like Google. There's been a 40% rise in searches every day in terms of what we were looking at this year compared to last. So the TikTok community is conducting billions of searches on the platform. And search is such a popular way to discovery as well, to discovering products, tools, guidance, education as well. And with the rise of TikTok shopping, we're also seeing a lot of people searching for specific products or product inspiration. So things like Valentine's Day gifts, Christmas gifts, stocking fillers. I'm sure they're all going to be big searches that people are doing on TikTok over the coming months. 3 in 4 shoppers on TikTok agree that TikTok is the go-to place to discover new brands and products. So if you haven't played around much with search on TikTok, I would really recommend that you put in a few words to do with your business, organization, or your products and services. So when you start typing in those words on TikTok, you can see the related searches, which gives you a really good idea about which words you should be optimizing your SEO for. So doing this keyword research is probably the number one thing I'd recommend doing when it comes to improving your discoverability in social media. Knowing what people are searching on TikTok is so useful, because then you can start to integrate some of those words and phrases into not just your caption on TikTok, but also your voiceovers or even the subject matter of what your video is about. It also could lead you to optimizing your profile, so getting different keywords into your profile as well. And also you can keep an eye out for which hashtags are also appearing next to popular videos on your searches. The report also showed that audiences fluidly navigate between platforms when they're searching for products. For example, people who use TikTok to search start their journey, maybe 38% of people start their journey on traditional search platforms before turning to TikTok, while 34% begin on TikTok before switching over to traditional search platforms. So that kind of using of lots of different tools And I think we will see a mix of LLM AI tools coming out there as well. So maybe you start a search on ChatGPT, then you move over to TikTok for more visual content, and then maybe you finish with a Google search just for that extra credibility with reviews. So really interesting to see how customer journeys aren't clear. They are messy, especially when somebody is considering buying a product, maybe a slightly higher cost product. They might do a little bit of extra research rather than just clicking on an ad and purchasing something. Talking of ads, the report also shared some new data around the potential of TikTok search ads. So TikTok activations that included dedicated search campaigns drove 2 times higher purchase lift compared to initiatives without. For enterprise advertisers, TikTok search campaigns drove 2.2 times purchase lift versus initiatives without. And for enterprise retail specifically, TikTok search campaigns drove 1.9 times purchase lift versus campaigns without. So if you're not aware of search ads on TikTok, it's the ability to actually have your ads appear in search results. And you can check when you're setting up your TikTok advertising campaigns. There's just a tick box. Couldn't be easier just to include search ads as part of your campaign. So this works really well for consumer brands. I also think this could work incredibly well for food, hospitality brands as well, advertising on TikTok. And yeah, anybody who's really just looking for that extra visibility when they know that somebody is going to be searching. So as we kind of steam forward towards Black Friday and Christmas, 2 of the biggest selling points of the year, I think it's really important to consider how people are searching for your products, how you're going to get found on the build up to Christmas, and also whether or not you should be investing in something like TikTok advertising, which is a really low cost way of advertising digitally in social media. Now, X has shared some really interesting news this week, and they have shared a bit more around how their algorithm works. So we're looking at the key factors that dictate how a post gathers reach in the X algorithm. Now, according to X's documentation on the core signals that it's looking at to select posts in a user's timeline, this is the current factors that the algorithm is currently, working towards. And also we can see the relative weighting out of 100 over on the right-hand side there. So I wanted to include this because although a lot of our clients at Avocado Social are no longer using X or have perhaps paused activity due to a multitude of reasons, but actually these algorithmic signals are quite similar to other platforms as well. So once you understand how the algorithm works on one platform, often it gives you hints and clues to how it works on other platforms too. So we've got things here like the probability that the user replies to the tweet and that the reply then is engaged with by the tweet author, 75. So if you're in a conversation with someone, that really does then help the reach of your posts on X because they want to generate more conversation on the platform. So you can see that replies, if your tweet is something or your post on X is something that is going to be replied to, if people are likely to reply to it, then they are going to give that much more weight in the platform. Also, we can see things like the probability that the user opens the author profile and then likes or replies to the tweet itself. So that's pretty high as well. What's a little bit lower on Twitter? We've got things like the likelihood that the user will favorite the tweet, the likelihood that the user will retweet the tweet, not as powerful anymore on the platform. And right at the bottom, the probability for a video that the user will watch at least half of the video. So that's actually really, really low on X. And I think the reason for that is because we know on X, people are kind of scrolling through it really, really quickly on their phones. It's not a platform that people are going to go to watch that long form video content like YouTube, for example. So that's why that is a lot less of a factor to the algorithm there. So really interesting to see a platform like X actually release this data. They're quite a private company, so I was quite surprised when I saw this report. It would be fantastic to get this kind of data from TikTok or Instagram, but of course they keep it very, very secret. But we know that video is much more of a focus for them on the platform. So I think there would be, slight differences here between what we see on X and what we see on TikTok and Instagram. More and more over the years, I've been asked about Reddit as a potential social media platform for a business or organization to be on. And I do have a couple of clients that have dabbled in the world of Reddit. Have you ever considered Reddit as a social media platform for your business? Well, I do wonder whether we're going to see much more businesses kind of embrace and explore Reddit next year, because they recently shared that they are the second most visited site in the US and third most visited site in Canada as of July 2025. Reddit has over 415 million global weekly active users and communities spanning every topic imaginable. All kinds of things are spoken about on Reddit. And also, according to analysis by SEMrush, LLMs like ChatGPT reference Reddit the most for facts. So it is a very important platform if you're looking to get more visibility within a platform like ChatGPT. If people have spoken about you and spoken about you in a genuine way on LLMs, then you're more likely to appear in suggested results. So how could your business be on Reddit? Well, there are a couple of ways that you could consider. The first is actually to have a profile where you start to engage in conversations that are happening in the wider Reddit community. The second would be to have your own Reddit community where you welcome people to be part of that. Maybe it's like a message board scenario. You could also host things like AMAs, that's Ask Me Anythings, on Reddit. And we've seen a couple of brands do that before in the past. Like I've seen the FT do that a couple of times. We've seen some sports stars, sports teams doing that on Reddit as well. And the third way is via ads. So Reddit ads are actually, again, relatively cheap in terms of advertising on digital marketing. And to be able to get in front of a huge amount of people talking about a specific topic of interest could be a really good opportunity for you to engage a certain group of people or just to improve your brand visibility. So I do think Reddit will be one that's more in the conversation next year. And yeah, I'm certainly happy to answer any questions that anyone has about that in our Q&A. So I will tell you a funny story about pokes. I actually joined the social media industry at a time when pokes were pretty prevalent on Facebook. So I'm sure you guys remember back in the day when you used to poke people on Facebook, and the poke has never really left Facebook. It's always been around, but they've just hidden it over the years, so it's a bit harder to find how to do it. But they're actually trying to make them happen again. So they're aiming to massively appeal to a younger audience, and a way of doing this is via gamification as well. So you might see more users you might find yourself being poked on Facebook, but it feels a little bit nostalgic to me, and interesting that they have announced on their Instagram page here that they are bringing the poke back. Is this something that you'll be looking at in terms of your strategy for Facebook? So it looks like it will only be between personal users at the moment, but it could be something that we begin to see businesses doing each other as well. So just a bit of a fun one there. I wanted to round up some of the trends that myself and our team at Avocado Social has spotted over the last couple of weeks, because it has always been a really useful part of our updates to kind of highlight some of the key trends happening on the platforms, particularly on TikTok and Instagram. But also, there's just been so many. And as a social media manager, it can be really hard just to stay on top of what's trending, what you should be doing on TikTok or Instagram. So let's take a look at our favorite ones this month. The first, which you may have seen, is graphic designer on leave. So this is quite a fun one you can do very easily, where you say our graphic designer or our content creator is on leave. You can see all kinds of brands have got involved with this. So you just create like a silly little drawing on Paint or Canva, and you can upload that as a kind of relatable moment where you're not posting anything high quality, kind of going back to that nostalgic MS Paint time. I particularly like that one by Popcorn Shed on the right hand side. And of course, you can just say, please buy, and then your product at the bottom. So quite a simple one. I think I've seen that trend as recently as this week. So it's definitely still out there on Instagram. This was one of our favourites. Obviously, we've moved into autumn. It was the autumn equinox earlier in the week, and a lot of people were posting this very simple format checklist of things to do, or things to kind of check off your to-do list this autumn. Let's take a quick look at this one.
What's the verdict?
I am an autumn.
So you might recognize that sound. It was actually trending last year around autumn and has come back this year as well. It's just called I Am an Autumn. You can see National Trust and Carrie Elizabeth Jewelry both using this kind of lo-fi Apple iPhone checklist. I particularly like the National Trust one there, putting it on top of some B-roll of some lovely autumn leaves. It's set to be quite a dramatic autumn in terms of the way that the colours are going to go this autumn in the UK after such a fantastic summer. So I've seen people predicting that, you know, over the next few weeks, the leaves are going to be really dramatic reds, oranges, yellows. So if you are anything to do with nature outside, or you know, you do want to talk a little bit about autumn lifestyle on your feed, then I would recommend trying to get out and grabbing some content while the leaves look so amazing. One of the other trends that I've quite liked seeing this month is called Unfortunately, I Do Love. So the idea is that you grab a bit of B-roll content of either yourself or your products, and you overlay that with a couple of bullet points around just kind of chronic habits that you have, either positive things or negative things. They can be specific to your industry as well. So for example, in the middle, we've got SEMrush, and they've been saying, unfortunately, I do love asking ChatGPT everything, having a screen time of 23 hours per day, doom scrolling as research, and basing my self-worth on views. So very relatable as a digital marketer there. So lots of different ways that you could utilize this. You could talk about a few things that you love just in your kind of own world and lifestyle, particularly if you're, you know, the business founder or the face of the business. I think that could work well, or if you're a content creator. But if you are doing it from a business account, you'll probably want to have someone do it as the face of. Like in the middle here, we've got Chris at SEMrush, who is kind of the face really of their social media. I was just chatting with my colleague Sarah before this session, but we've noticed that the music track that people use alongside this trend isn't actually available for commercial purposes at the moment, which is slightly frustrating. It's a song called Rocky Mountain Way by Joe Walsh, and we can't find it in the library ourselves. So we're kind of wondering how other people have done it, but maybe it's something that they've done whilst being a personal account, or perhaps they managed to get the audio before it got locked down. We're not sure, but this is the audio sound. I'll play it for you now. So quite a simple one there. And then of course, I couldn't do the update this week without talking about this new Reels trend that is kind of taking all of our news feeds up at the moment, which is the 5120 by 1080 or 5120 by 1080 trend. So you might have seen these long ultra landscape videos appearing on Reels this week. Not quite sure where this trend started, but it really hit its peak yesterday. I have seen a few more today. Brands like Kit Kat, Marks and Spencer's, Canva, Gary Vee, McLaren, lots of people, Sweaty Betty I saw this morning, using this very, very thin strip of a reel, which is pretty easy to edit. You just use 5120 by 1080 as your pixels in Canva or whichever editing tool you're using. And that will upload as a very, very thin video. Now, this has been received a little bit like Marmite this week. Some people love it and others hate it. When I first saw it, I thought it was a glitch, and then I just started to see more people do it. I do think it's quite eye-catching, but I don't think it will be around much more than today. So I have seen a couple of people share it today and say that they know that they're late to the trend. So Mob was an example of that. If you go on Mob on Instagram, they shared a video this morning and they said we're a bit late to this trend. So I think once people start acknowledging that they are late to it, generally that trend is on its way out. So other than posting it today, I probably wouldn't bother if you were thinking about doing it over the next few days, because it is a very short-lived trend. Like I said, it hasn't been 100% received positively, but it could be a way for you to get a little bit more reach and engagement.